Question. Hi Kim, I'm wondering what the role of extraterrestrials is. Assuming that they come from natural planets, why don't they assist us in raising our consciousness and help us develop new technologies that can also aid us in this regard? Are they limited by divine law like the Ascended Masters so that they may not interfere with our free will? Or are they actually among us and already helping and guiding us in disguise, so to speak? Thank you for your contribution. Well, the first thing I would say here is, what do you mean with extraterrestrials? Do you mean they're coming in UFOs or in other ways? So I have a video that's called How the World Was Created. And in that video I explain basically how the world is an environment in which we as self-aware beings can expand our self-awareness, grow in awareness. And I explain the difference there between natural and unnatural planets. And I explain that Earth is an unnatural planet. And the main difference there is that selfishness and self-centeredness is basically what's still ruling the Earth. So I also explain that the goal of the Ascended Masters is to raise the Earth beyond this being an unnatural planet where warfare and torture and all these things can't take place anymore, so that it becomes a natural planet again. And many beings have come from natural planets in order to help in that process. As I explain, many spiritual people are actually what I call avatars, because they volunteered to come to Earth to embody here. So I also explain that most people on Earth are what we can call the original Earth inhabitants, meaning they were the ones who were created specifically to take embodiment on Earth when it was a natural planet. And they were the ones who were partly responsible for the Earth sinking below that level, so it became an unnatural planet. Also explain some deeper dynamics of why the planet is as low as it is. But let's just stay with this idea. So, what I also say is that everything is guided by free will. So, as the questioner points out, there's a divine law, which is basically free will, so that the Ascended Masters, who are assigned to help us grow, help the planet grow, they can't interfere with our free will. That's why you won't see Ascended Masters appearing in the sky in some undeniable manifestation, because that would interfere with our free will. Right? Well, in the same way, if there were extraterrestrials that came to Earth in UFOs that couldn't be denied, they were suddenly hanging there on Earth, that would also be a violation of our free will. Because planet Earth is a unit, and the reason why space is so big and other planets are so far away is that a planetary unit, is allowed to develop in isolation, physical isolation. That's why the physical universe is so vast that space travel between planets is not possible because of the speed of light. So I know that raises certain questions about why people have seen UFOs, but I actually addressed that in another answer. So what I would say here is that you have the original Earth inhabitants. They are basically the ones who are responsible for the fate of the Earth. Anybody who came from other planets are in a sense extraterrestrials. But they didn't travel here physically, they took embodiment here, or they came to one of the other realms. I explained that there are 4 realms corresponding to 4 levels of vibration: purely physical, the emotional, mental, and identity. There are also beings that came from other planets that are residing in the 3 higher realms, and then there are some that are in physical embodiment. So this is allowed, and it's partly allowed because, let's take the physical, there are many spiritual people that are avatars, but we have physical bodies just like everybody else. So from an outer viewpoint, you can't tell us apart, you can't see that there's anything different about us. And that's the way it needs to be, so we can serve as examples for the Earth's inhabitants. And so you need to understand also that the law of free will everything, the purpose of everything is the growth in self-awareness, right? So there are many times, and I met this in myself and many spiritual people over the years, when I first heard about Ascended Master, for example, but even before, we think there's a lot of problems on Earth. All the suffering, all the warfare, and all this. This is a problem. It needs to be solved. And what if there was this wonderful magic way of just solving the problem just like that? Ha! Warfare is gone. But see, the problems are here because people made choices with their free will to go lower in consciousness. And the only way the problems are going to disappear is people make choices with their free will to go higher, back up in consciousness. And that is a voluntary process. Cannot be forced. So that's why the Ascended Masters are not allowed to remove certain problems from Earth. So in other words, what I'm saying is, it's not the goal of the Ascended Masters to solve a problem, to remove warfare, for example. The goal of the Ascended Master is to raise consciousness, whatever that takes. And that's why when a person is saying, why don't they assist us in raising our consciousness and help us develop new technologies that can also aid in this regard? Well, they are. We are, as avatars, we are helping the Earth inhabitants raise our consciousness. But it's just that they don't see us as being different. And that's the whole point. Because then we can serve as examples. We can raise our consciousness, Earth inhabitants see that, and they realize they can raise their consciousness. So again, if some beings appeared in a UFO in the sky and solved all of our problems, yeah, that would remove the physical problems, but how would it raise consciousness? It's the same as religious people who are praying to God, or who are thinking that Jesus is going to come back and roll up the world as a scroll. How would that raise people's consciousness? Religious people think that, the goal of God is to get us all into heaven. But then why are we on earth in the first place? Why not just create us in heaven? Why create us as sinners who have to go through this process to qualify for heaven? No, the goal of our existence is the growth in consciousness. And that is really what matters. And that's why the law limits what anybody can do for us. It's also why the law limits an advanced civilization somewhere from flying here in UFOs and solving our problems. This is just fantasy. Just imagine, the person is saying, extraterrestrials, assuming they come from natural planets. Well, the beings on natural planets would never, even if they had the physical capacity to travel here, they would never physically travel here. Because on a natural planet, beings there will not violate the law of free will, right? And you could say that beings on an unnatural planet who had developed more advanced technology than us, they might have an intention of coming here and either using our resources like you see in the old movie Independence Day, or helping us solve our problems. But again, that wouldn't be allowed by the law of free will, and that's why there are these distances that makes space travel, regardless of warp speed or prepare for light speed, it's just not practically possible.